We're going where you want to go so you can be where you need to be. It's Road Gang Radio with Lindsay, Lawler, and Jimmy Mack on RadioNemo.com.
Oh, man, I got to tell you.
Tell me.
Pretty bad joke over the break. That mac and cheese, man, they just...
So bad.
Things just kind of fall apart at the seams. Thank God that thank God for retailing. And by the way, speaking of retailing, it is Prime Week. Prime days are upon us, Lindsay. Getting people gifts is so important, by the way, this time of year. It's the gift-giving time of year. I believe it starts at Halloween. I can't think of a better gift than what's coming up next here. I mean,
and
I'm
you know
excited.
what I love?
What's that?
Getting or giving a gift for no reason. I'd actually prefer to give some, I call them happies. When you see something, like if you're out and about and you see something that makes you think of somebody, and you're like, I'm just going to get it. Either hold on to it and give it to them at a birthday, but even more excitingly, just be like, this is just for you because I saw this and this made me think of you. And that's what this new book could do for somebody. I think this would, because this is a very interesting spin on a cookbook. Very interesting spin on a cookbook. I had no idea there was such thing as what we're going to talk about today. And now I can't not know it. I'm so excited. So our first guest today, Jim, she's serving up something to die for. I've been waiting up all morning to see that. Quite literally. Rosie Grant, she's a writer, a researcher, a food folklorist. That's a thing, guys. She has spent years uncovering actual recipes that are carved onto gravestones. This is so cool. And her new cookbook, To Die For, that's what it's called. It collects 40 of them from across the country, including 2 right over there by you, Jim, in Louisiana. From spritz cookies to guava cobbler. It's all these recipes, and they're more than ingredients and measurements. They're like stories about love and loss and legacy, and they're baked right into the stone. Rosie's work, she's been featured everywhere from the New York Times to Good Morning America, the Kelly Clarkson Show, shout out Kelly, and she's behind the viral account at Ghostly Archive, which is really fun, where she explores the intersection of food and folklore and afterlife. And so today, Jim, we're going to ask these questions. What dish would you want to be remembered by? You got to think about it. Don't just throw something out, because when you think about it, cooking a loved one's recipe, Jim, we talk about seances right around here a lot. It might be the closest thing to a seance that you can actually taste.
Oh,
we're going to go there.
And I'm delighted, by the way, because I come down here at the Fastport Studios in New Orleans. We are the people that put the fun in funeral. So, I mean, we are just absolutely thrilled to have our next guest on the air.
We're thrilled to have her, Rosie Grant. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, and I love Put the Fun in Funeral. I'm going to quote you on that. I love that.
Yeah, head on down to New Orleans. Rosie, I just have to tell you real quick, my daughter, who is 6, names every stuffed animal or animal she sees Rosie. Everything she sees, I'm like, what are you going to name it? She goes, I want to name it Rosie. I want to be named Rosie. I love this name so much. You just already feel like somebody I want to hug. So, good morning.
Oh, my gosh. Good morning. I love that. I do usually hear when I say my name, people either say that's my dog's name or that's my grandmother's name. So I love that so much.
Both a compliment.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I just say, I'm going to jump way ahead in the book and get right to the savory section, because I have to tell you, I get moved by the strangest of things, but I don't think this was strange to be moved by this. Literally, she made the best meatloaf, just melted my heart. Lindsay, I got to tell you, I mean, the idea of that on a tombstone would be enough. You know what I'm saying? It's even better than saved his family from a burning battleship from the Royal Tannenbaums. It's even better than that. She made the best meatloaf. It just lands. And I think in many ways it kind of encompasses the power and the importance of what this book actually has to say about how we remember people. And being from a place, as I said earlier, putting the fun in funeral, we also have a great relationship with food here. There's a lot of these tombstones that are down here that people said, you know, if somebody could simply say, she made the best Louisiana brown rice, the best gumbo, would mean the world to people. Can you kind of talk about the overall project through the filter of she made the best meatloaf?
Yeah, oh man, and I love Beverly's recipe. She really did make the best meatloaf. Bacon on top, it's so beautiful. And yeah, it was exactly that. Like each person, food was so important to them. And as I've been interviewing the families for this book and traveling to these different gravestones, we do have one featured in New Orleans, and then there's another one a little bit north of there in Louisiana. And each person, food was love. They often loved serving other people. They were the hosts of their family holidays. So the very first woman that I learned about, her name is Naomi, and she's buried in Brooklyn, New York. Food was something that she just showed love with, and it was something when it came time to planning her memorial, it was her son's idea to put her recipe onto her gravestone. What better way to remember what you smelled during the holidays, during your birthdays, things that were just very nostalgic to each family. And so I just think it's the coolest idea. People decided to do this.
Well, and you take it to another level by you've over the past couple of years, you have actually made these recipes, traveled to these gravestones. I love, by the way, on your Instagram when you traveled to one and found out she was actually, in fact, still alive. You have to tell us that story. Tell us that story in a second. But so talk a little bit about this, because people understand this is literally people want to be remembered for something they made. They have their famous recipe, their family recipe, whatever, carved into their gravestone, and you are making it, going and serving it to the dead, eating with the dead, having this dance, this communion with somebody on the other side. I just think it is such a cool thing. I love cemeteries, by the way. There's something obviously spiritual about it, but it's just such I such a powerful place. So talk a little bit about the journey to making this and how you're connecting with these people you have never even met, but I assume you feel like you know them.
Yeah, boy, there's something about cooking someone's food that gives you this like affinity and I don't know, trust in this person. And it's just such a personal and precious thing. And so, I mean, this started very randomly. I was interning at a cemetery in Washington, D.C., and I started a TikTok account about what's it like to intern at a cemetery. This was very new to me. I knew very little about the death industry. I should say my parents are both ghost tour guides in Virginia.
Oh my gosh.
So cemeteries were not the most unusual thing for me, but I just didn't know very much about how people chose to be remembered. And I was so struck by some really funny, interesting, sweet, personal things people put onto their gravestones. And that was how I learned about the very first gravestone, which was Naomi's. She has a spritz cookie recipe on hers. And, you know, traveling to New York wasn't too hard. And I was thinking about what to bring flower-wise for her, like what kind of flowers would she have liked. And then I was like, you know, I should bring her cookies. These are something important to her. So my mom and I went up to Brooklyn, and while I was visiting Naomi, there's another woman named Connie who's a little bit north of New York City. So I thought I might as well bring Connie her recipe, and that just kind of started it. So it was a little bit organic. Flash forward to, yes, traveling to California, and there's a woman named Christine who is still alive and well and has her carrot cake recipe on it. Some of the recipes are a little harder to travel with. There's a woman in Maine named Marion who has a ice cream recipe. And that was hard to get up to her. It's like 2 hours outside of Portland, and making sure the ice cream didn't melt by the time I got to the cemetery. But it felt very, I don't know, it felt right. It felt like I'll go to the gravestone and visit them, and it's a memorial to a person. And, I'll read the obituary there and just have this like kind of lovely, quiet moment with the person. And yeah, you just become so interested in them and you care so much about these people. And then, of course, that's doubled as you're cooking their food and interviewing their family and loved ones about who this person was in life.
Rosie, there's a term, it's a theory term, ghosting, and I don't mean the one where you don't talk to anybody anymore. The idea is that the idea with ghosting is that you're creating the memory and the aura of somebody by, people say houses are haunted. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But if you have enough sounds and smells and realities of a person that used to be there in many ways are there. What I was going to kind of wonder about when you did all this cooking and you're putting together all these recipes, so much of, our memory is based on our olfactory. I mean, the idea that we remember through smell. And I was kind of wondering, given what you already knew about some of these people, if you got a better sense of them from smelling their recipes in your kitchen and in the preparation, if you had a sense of, because the thing is, it's one thing to eat meatloaf. It's another thing to actually take all the ingredients and dice and chop everything you need. Those are very different smell sensations and very different tactile sensations in the sense that you almost are, inhabiting the landscape that they kind of existed in as you put all this together. Did that become something you were aware of at some point in making all of these recipes?
Oh, I love how you describe that. And I've never heard the word ghosting in that frame, and I really, really love that. And yeah, I think there is so much of a sense of like, nostalgia is such an interesting thing, and both of my grandmothers actually passed away in the course of this project, and I was thinking about the smells that I grew up with and the tastes and the things that I would experience in a kitchen. And, it's very much of like that ratatouille scene where the villain at the very end is eating the ratatouille and he's just transported back to his childhood. And it's just smell and taste and these senses dropping into a memory are so powerful. And of course, these are people who I did not know. I'm, gleaning information and hearing the stories from their families. And nothing was better than in the cases where I got to cook with the families, like that was just so precious and special, and it's creating new memories. But yeah, I mean, food, I can't think of a more powerful memory tool than being able to cook and taste and just kind of, your senses really connecting with that. So I would definitely say, like, when I was cooking these recipes and thinking about the person, I would imagine them there with me of, like, what would they have done? And, of course, like, multiple times of having to test the recipes, I usually made it wrong the first time, and then I would chat with their kids or their siblings or other relatives of theirs, and they'd be like, oh, she would make it this way or he would do it that way. And so over the course of like many years of perfecting the recipe, and in some cases never even perfecting the recipe because they had it the right way. So yeah, I would basically say, yes, I discovered of how powerful food is as a memory tool by doing this project.
I was trying to think what I would, I mean, of course, when you read this, and everyone's going to think, what would I want to be remembered for if it was a recipe? And this is so basic, Rosie, but and everybody knows me for queso. Like I'm from Texas. Tex-Mex is my thing. I make queso. People come to my house specifically for it.
I got it for her her birthday.
Yeah, like everyone knows. Like people send me queso queen shirts all the time. Like it's my thing. But I started thinking about it as it pertains to you. I was like, I'm so curious. Like in your research, if you've noticed patterns and types of recipes people leave behind, like the person that. Known for sweets, known for savory, known for like queso. Because I was like, okay, if queso is my thing, why do I love that? Why do people come around? And if I had to think about it, I was like, well, I know when I cook it's a cozy thing, it's a comfort thing, and everybody gathers around the crock pot and eats it and talks. And that's what I love, that it gets everybody in one place. And we're like pouring over this thing that is so like cozy and, bad for us, but fun. And we're like oohing and gooing over it. And I'm like, that's what I love, that it gets everybody, kind of huddled together. So have you found patterns in people, what they leave behind and what it says about them based on what kind of food it is?
Okay, I love that you have a queso recipe that has all of these gathering moments. Like that is honestly the perfect and exactly the heart of a lot of these gravestone recipes of, this is the recipe. And most of them, I should say, there's only so much space on a gravestone. So in some cases, it's a really complicated recipe that has a lot of instructions. It actually doesn't lend itself too well to the gravestone just because it wouldn't fit very well. An epitaph can only have so many letters. And so there's a ranch dip and there's a cheese dip that are on it. And I think exactly that, like, especially, so I'm thinking of the cheese dip, which belongs to a woman named Deb Nelson, who's buried in Iowa. And when talking to her daughter, it was exactly that. Deb would make it during the holidays. It was a thing people would look forward to. It had this really special connection in their family. Her husband and her met at this restaurant that would serve this cheese dip that she worked at. And then years later, she would bottle it up and send it to people with a sleeve of crackers for Christmas presents. And people had to return the jar every year, and in order to get it, the gift again for the following year. And it was just something, it's not super complicated. You can just make it in a mixer. It has bacon bits. Oh my gosh, it's so good. But instruction-wise, it's pretty simple, and so it fits really nicely into an epitaph. And it has this really cool story of, like, every time people go to visit her grave and make her cheese dip, they go, oh my gosh, remember when? Like, it's just like, it's such a beautiful way to remember you. Like, I don't know. I just think, so I love that you have a queso recipe.
I guess I'll put it on my gravestone. Well, which begs the question, Jim, what happens when more and more people are being cremated these days? How do I remember my recipe if I'm cremated? I don't even know what I would do in that. Do I write it in the dust? No, I'm obviously not, but.
So many options. No, it's such a great question. Yeah, I mean, the point of the project is cool. I mean, I love cemeteries, I love gravestones,
Yeah.
but there's so many ways people chose to be remembered, particularly through food. So at the beginning of the book, I mean, again, and I love every recipe that's featured, but it is supposed to be a personal reflection of like, what are my recipes? Have I documented them? Have I written them down? A lot of families,
Yeah.
their grandparent or parent has this famous recipe in the family. My dad makes a really good jambalaya. He does not write the recipe down. And so it's encouraging some sort of documenting, maybe cooking it together, maybe filming the experience,
Filming,
maybe
yeah.
sharing it with,
Yeah.
yeah, like there's so many ways. And then sharing it and making sure other family members or community members, whoever, have access to that just to preserve it. Because if you don't do it, it's, when you lose a person, it's like losing a library. Like there's no way to get that back. And so it is a little bit of like, yeah, documenting it while you can, cooking it together. And then also like people have gotten really creative. I've seen at different funerals, some people will do prayer cards with a recipe of that person or in the funeral pamphlet. I've also
What a
seen on
great idea.
urns some people, right? It's such a cool idea. And sometimes in obituaries, people will put their recipe in the obituary. A whole side quest to this project has been obituary recipes, which, that could be a whole other book, just some really cool obituary. And like there's no limit of space. You could put a longer recipe if you wanted to. So definitely, but I would say the core of it is cooking it and documenting it just to make sure you have those recipes.
Jim, I love the idea. It's like, if I told you I'd have to kill you, people. It's like we always loved what she made, but we didn't know what was in it until she passed away.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I don't want anybody to be murdered for their recipe. However, it's a really cool thing to be like, did she leave it behind? Did she leave it behind? We're dying
Who got
to
it?
see.
Who got it? Who got it? Who got it? One of the things too, and that Rosie has pointed out that the book really does do. It's not just a series of recipes, guys. There's some really beautiful prose in the book, and equally important, it is a reminder that I often worry that we live in an age of so much information where it is so easy to collate, to really kind of build receptacles where we can put information that people forget to do it. Is one of the most heartbreaking things that is happening all around us, that there is so many opportunities. Like I said, so we don't write the jambalaya recipe down. There's no reason why somebody can't sit there one day and say, hey, I'm just going to film you making it. We're just going to have that record. We're going to put it someplace. And people, because of the ability we have to do this so quickly, say, I'll get to it. And then they're gone. And then we're kind of living in that sad world where we had every ample opportunity. The book really does this, guys. Along with the recipes, there are a lot of how-to stuff, a lot of reminders of how to kind of do this stuff and put this together. I just wanted to share this from the book, guys, to give you a sense of how wonderful the writing is. Valerie's cooking was the heart of her family's table, and her Thanksgiving stuffing earned legendary status, finally deemed to die for. There's the titular line. This savory masterpiece anchored meals alongside her signature chicken cutlets and creamy mashed potatoes, staples that define countless family dinners. And then you go on to talk about the holiday season. And the tombstone there, which, by the way, once again, but along with the meatloaf one, is one of my favorites. She was a lady raised by a lady. And just love that. And in some ways, it actually speaks towards the recipes as well, too, of traditions passed down. Can you kind of talk about, and we've been talking about the purpose of things, and you've kind of alluded to it and spoken of it. Can you kind of tell us a couple of things that when people buy this book, and you should buy this book, guys, that people should walk away with, what you hope, what would be your idea of, along with enjoying the book, a success where you'd be like, man, that's exactly what I hope would happen. I mean, Lindsay's already got her queso tombstone, so I'm thrilled about that. But give us some more examples.
My work here is done.
Yeah. Done. Pick the recipe. Yeah. Oh, I love that you brought up Valerie's grave. I think she has one of the most beautiful gravestones, and the recipe is written in her handwriting, which I just think is so special. And yeah, I think just over the course of a few years of posting and hearing just a lot of stories from different folks who have lost someone, I think definitely if one takeaway is just documenting your family or community recipes in whichever way, and I try to make it as simple as possible or as low lift as possible to documenting your, whether it is, just filming and cooking together or writing it down while you can. I think also having conversations of how what do you want? Some people, death is a taboo thing, and it's uncomfortable and scary to talk about this with your loved ones of like, do you want to be cremated? Do you want to be buried? What cemetery? You love this band. You like Neil Young. Do you want to play him at your funeral? Like, what are symbols of things that we should look for? Like, I loved one woman who has her tea biscuits recipe. Her and her daughter would talk about this, and she said, look for me in the white feather. And so every time her daughter sees a white feather, she knows it's a sign from her mom. So it's just all these ways for the living to keep remembering and connecting with those who have come before. And so even if it's just a really like surface level conversation of like, oh, do you love cooking? Do you want a recipe? You love this other thing. Would you want that? And letting that just kind of start the conversation, just because I've heard so many stories of people being like, yeah, like my dad died and we didn't know what he wanted. We didn't really do pre-planning. We didn't have these conversations. And it's just, it's a nice way to start things. And the idea of this death positive movement, which I was very inspired by, it's something that came out of hospice, that people are healthier if we actually talk about these things.
Well, and here's what I think is important to note. Like, we're all going to die, and it doesn't have to be a conversation you have when somebody gets older. Just in general, I think it's a fabulous conversation starter. How do you want to be remembered? Whether you're 12, 20, or maybe we don't want to be talking about death with kids at 12, but you know what I mean? Like, people save it for later in life, and then it kind of becomes a taboo and offensive. Whereas if it's just an open conversation, I think that's just an important thing to note. Okay, here's my question. You know, I want to know about this, Jem, because since you mentioned both of your parents do ghost tours, you were an intern at a cemetery, you now travel to these cemeteries and visit these people. Is there a story that you or anyone else has submitted as found? I mean, you've got the white feather you just mentioned. Any sort of moments where you're like, oh, they're here. We're remembering them and they're here. Have you had any they're here moments?
Yeah, I would say probably with almost every single one of them, there's been, I call this whole book like a Hail Mary throw because it feels almost like too crazy to, like the number of like things that were out of my control that just had to happen. And so like, I remember when I would learn about maybe 20 recipes, I got connected with this editor who who's the person who edited this particular book. And she really saw the vision of like, it won't just be a cookbook, it'll also be the stories behind each person, encouraging people to document their own recipes. And in my mind, I was like, I mean, we can try, but like we have to have so many things together. We have to locate each of these gravestones. We need to locate each family member. We need to, get people comfortable, see how they feel about it. Each recipe needs to be signed off on and see, again, it's a celebration of each person, but I was like, I don't even know. And I would be like, traveling to places and just randomly get a message from someone who I'd been searching for like years, being like, oh, hey, like I just saw your TikTok. That's my grandma, by the way. Like let's chat about her and things like that. And I would be like it felt like something beyond me because there was so much out of my control that were just like synchronicity moments. And so, yes, moments like the white feather. There was also like, one particular moment I went to Missouri, and there's a really beautiful gravestone of a woman named Kim, who it's her carrot cake recipe. And this crazy flash flood came to the area. I traveled in the summer to there. And I was on the phone with her daughter while visiting the cemetery. And her daughter was like, who didn't live there, but she was like checking the weather. And she's like, I think you need to like get out of the area right now. Like these flash floods are coming. And right when I was leaving, this double rainbow came over the cemetery. Just because of the way the storm hit. I've never seen a rainbow like this before. And I just felt, I had been feeling a little bit nervous. And I was like, I think it's going to be okay. I feel like Kim is with us right now. And awesome. I had this Airbnb that was very lovely near the cemetery. So I went there and it was, honestly, it provided the most beautiful rainbow that came out of it. And so, just like lots of little moments like this, in addition to just really bizarre synchronicities, even like connections between some of the families that like they didn't know each other, but they had so many like locations and places in common. The world is huge. There's so many people in it. And so it's amazing with like all over the country, there were these little connections between people, which it was a lot of like goosebumps kind of moments.
This is it's so inspirational. And I think Rosie, my husband's mom, passed away a couple months ago, and he's just recently started making her lemon chicken recipe. And and he's kind of healing through it. Like he called his sister a couple weeks ago and was like, "Do you want to both make it tonight?" And so they both made it the same night. Wow. And it was a way of real communion together. And so I was thinking about that with this book. I think this book is such an inspiration and encouragement to people. This is a real way to feel connected to your loved ones, and actually even connected to other people's loved ones. I think about the movie Coco, where it's like, we don't talk about them. They can't exist anymore. So this is a really special thing. And I think I think this is a beautiful gift for anybody. I know, Jim, you agree as well.
Oh, my God. And by the way, promise me you'll come back on at some point so we can talk about, while Airbnb is often an iffy situation, when it comes to like visiting smaller ex-urban or rural communities, if you can find a really good Airbnb in one of those environments, it really helps set the mood of any place you're kind of going to kind of immerse yourself in the culture of that world. I just have the idea of knowing you have a house to go back to after visiting a cemetery is a really kind of groovy and cool thing. Can't thank you enough, Rosie, for making time for us. Guys, highest recommendation to die for, Rosie Grant. Can't get enough of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been such an honor to be here.
Oh, you're so fun. I want to be friends with Rosie. Rosie, everybody check it out. To Die For. It is out. It is brought to you through HarperCollins. Oh, it just came out like 2 days ago, right?
Just yesterday, yeah.
Or just yesterday, okay.
Bookshelves.
Well, good God Almighty, congratulations.
I know. What are you doing to celebrate this?
I have a book launch tonight at an event. We're going to do a food and death panel with wine and gravestone cookies.
I love that. And where is that?
That's going to be in Los Feliz in Los Angeles. We're doing it at like a spooky library.
Oh, I love it. Are you based in California?
I'm based in California right now. I'm going to do an event in a few weeks in Washington, D.C. at the cemetery that I first interned at.
Awesome. Well, thank you also for joining us early, since you're 2 hours behind, of course, where we are. Everybody check it out, To Die For by Rosie Grant. There's a link on our website. Buy this book for yourself, for other people. Be inspired to commune and bake with the dead. Cook with the other side. Rosie Grant, have the best day.
Thank you, Rosie.